Let's begin with this chapter. Can you recall what is force? So, if you remember, force was basically an interaction on an object when unopposed would cause a motion of the object. So, a stationary object on which no force is acting remains stationary. So, any object which is placed in a position and there is no force acting on it, so it will remain in its position only. So that is why it is called as remaining stationary, that is, it's remaining in the same position. An object in motion continues to move with the same speed and direction when no force is acting on the object. This is Newton's first law of motion. So if you take a ball and you let it roll on the surface of a table, it will keep on rolling unless and until a force is acted on it. Until then, the ball will keep on rolling, so it will keep on moving with the same speed and in the same direction. So unless you put a force on it, it's not going to change its speed or it's not going to change its direction. So this is Newton's first law of motion. Observe the pictures: contact and non-contact force. So in this first figure, a car moves in the forward direction when a man applies force from behind it. So when there is no force acting on this car, the car will remain in this position. But as soon as the man pushes on the car from behind, he is putting a force on it, and then only it will start moving. A reluctant dog is being pulled by his master, and a boy playing football is kicking the ball away. What do you observe from these? So in this, the dog is pulling on the rope and the boy is also pulling on the rope. So as long as both the forces are equal, nobody will move. But as soon as either the boy's force increases more than the dog's force, or the dog's force increases more than the boy's force, then in that direction the rope will move. And this, when this boy is kicking the ball, so when it is at rest, the ball will stay on the ground. But as soon as the boy pushes the ball with his leg and kicks it with more force, the ball will move in the direction in which the boy kicked the ball. So a force acts on two bodies through an interaction between them. So when the two bodies are interacting at a point, then only the force will act on it. So the interaction is very important to take place. Like in this example, the ball will not move until and unless the kick of the boy touches the ball. As seen in figure 3.2, a nail gets attracted to the pole of a magnet due to magnetic force. So here there was a magnetic force and that pulled the nails, the iron nails, towards the magnet. So as we had seen in this previous examples, that in order for motion to occur or in order for the force to be applied, both the objects should be interacting with each other, that is, they should be in contact. But here we have seen that the motion occurs even when both the objects are not in contact. So this is a separate type of force and it is called as non-contact force. And even though we do not see the interaction, there is an interaction. And these forces are called contact forces because here both the objects are contacting each other, that is, they are touching each other. Let's see more examples for non-contact force. A coconut is falling from the coconut tree. Objects are attracted to the earth due to the force of gravity. So here the coconut falls down towards the earth. So the earth is attracting the coconut towards itself. So even though the earth is not touching the coconut, there is a force that is being applied and that is called as gravitational force. So because of this force, the coconut is attracted towards the earth's surface and it falls towards the earth. When a comb gets rubbed against hair, small pieces of paper kept on the table get attracted to the comb. The comb has an electrostatic charge and there is an induced opposite charge on the pieces of the paper and the pieces stick to the comb. So what you have to do in this experiment is you have to cut tiny pieces of paper and keep it on the floor. And you take your comb and rub it against your hair for a few seconds, and after that immediately take the comb and bring it near the papers. So you will see that small pieces of paper will stick to the comb. Why does this occur? It's because when you rub the comb towards your hair, an electrostatic charge is created on the comb, and that charge is an opposite charge to the charge present on the pieces of the paper. And because opposite charges attract, therefore few pieces of paper will stick to the comb. But this force is not that strong. Therefore, you see only a few pieces of paper that are sticking to the comb. So in the previous figure, a force is seen to act through direct contact of the object. In the previous example in which we had seen the man pushing the car and the boy kicking the ball. So in those examples, the force is directly applied on the object through contact or via one or more objects. Such a force is called as contact force. So when both the objects are touching each other, then you call it as contact force. But in these examples that we seen just now of the coconut falling towards the ground and the nails being attracted to the magnet, there is no contact between those objects. Therefore, those forces are called non-contact force. Muscular force is an example of contact force and is applied to objects with the help of our muscles. So if you remember in the example of the man pushing the car, he was using his muscular force. So he was using the force that is present in his hands and his body to push on the car, and because of this the car was moving ahead. So that is an example of muscular force which comes under contact force, because muscular force cannot be applied unless there is contact between the two objects. It is applied in several cases such as lifting, pushing, pulling. So all these are forces that can be applied on another object by one person using muscular force. On the contrary, forces like magnetic force, gravitational force, electrostatic force act without a contact, that is these forces. So in this example we see magnetic force when the magnet attracts the nails. In the comb example, we see electrostatic force, and in this coconut example, we see gravitational force. So in this, even though there is no contact between the two objects, there is motion and there is attraction that takes place. Therefore, these are examples of non-contact forces. When a ball is kept on a table and pushed a little, it moves ahead and gets slow and stops. A car running on a plain road travels some distance and stops after the engine is switched off. So if you remember Newton's first law of motion, that if a force is not applied on the objects, it should not change its speed or direction. But here we see normally when you push a ball on the table, then it will move and after some time it will come to a rest. But we have not done anything to the ball, so how come it came to a rest? Also, if a car, after switching off the engine also, you will notice that it runs for a certain amount of distance and it will stop. So why did it stop even though we did not apply any force on it? This is because of the force of friction between the ground surface and the object in motion. So we cannot see this force, but it is present. So when the ball is on the surface and it is rolling, there is a frictional force that is acting on the ball by the surface, and this acts on the opposite direction. So because of this, the ball is slowed down and finally it comes to a rest when the frictional force becomes greater than the force that was applied by the ball because it was in motion. In the absence of frictional force, the object would have remained in motion. So if there was no friction, then the object would continue to roll and it would never come to a stop. But because of frictional force, we have proved that the ball will come to a rest. Frictional force is very useful in daily life. Even though we cannot see this force, it is very useful and we will see how. While walking, we push the ground behind with our feet. So when we are walking, we are using frictional force without even realizing it. So when we walk, we move the ground, we push towards the ground with our feet, and that's why we move ahead. In the absence of friction, we will slip and will not be able to walk. So whenever you have noticed during the rainy season, the floor becomes very wet, and because of that, there is less friction. And that is why we slip on the surface. So when friction decreases between the two surfaces, then we will tend to slip more. And that is not good because we will have a chance of falling. So friction is very important while walking so that we can walk in a straight line without slipping or falling. all the objects in motion have a frictional force acting on them, which is acting in the direction opposite to the direction of motion. And that is why the ball slowed down after some time, because the frictional force was acting in the opposite direction as the motion of the ball. If frictional force was acting towards the direction, that is in the same direction as the ball, then the ball should have gone faster and faster after moving for some time on the table. But since it slowed, therefore we know that the frictional force is in the opposite direction as the ball. You must have seen that one tends to slip over a banana peel on a street. Similarly, one can slip due to mud. Both these examples occur due to reduced friction. So, as we seen earlier, wherever there is reduced friction, there is more tendency to slip and fall. Therefore, it is very important for friction to be present. Also, if you must have noticed, at the lower side of your shoes, you must have seen certain elevations and depressions and certain markings that are put there by the shoe companies. So, they do this to increase the frictional force between the shoe and the surface of the ground, so that when you walk and run, you will not slip because there is more friction, and therefore you can walk smoothly on the surface of the ground without falling. Try this. Take two plastic bottles with rectangular shape. Close their openings by fitting the lids tightly. Keep two small bar magnets on them and fix them neatly using a sticking tape. So here they have given an example of what they want to do in the experiment. So you take two bottles, plastic bottles, and which are in a rectangular shape, and you have to make sure that the lid is closed tightly, and on them you have to keep bar magnets that look like this, and you have to stick it using a tape. Fill a big plastic tray with water and leave the two bottles floating with the magnets at the top. So here they have taken a big tray, or you can take a bucket and put little water in it and make sure that the bottles are floating on it. Take one bottle near the other. If the north pole of the magnet is near the south pole of the other magnet, the bottles will head towards each other, because unlike poles attract each other. So here if you see, this is the south pole and this, the blue color, is the north pole. Similarly, here also the blue color is the north pole and the red color is the south pole. So when you bring the blue color of one magnet towards the red color of the other magnet, this bottle will move towards this bottle in this direction, because since both the poles are opposite, we know that unlike poles attract each other. Therefore, they will come towards each other. Observe what will happen when the directions of the bottle are changed. So now, if the north pole was on this side and the south pole was on this side, then the bottle will move in the opposite direction, because north and north will become like charges and they will repel each other. We can observe change in the motion of the bottles without any direct contact. So here, even though you are not touching the second bottle, when you brought this bottle just close to it, it will move away or towards depending on the charge. So even though there was no direct contact, it still moved. This means that there exists a non-contact force between the two magnets, and therefore we proved of this magnetic force that it exists in the magnets, and because of that there was like charges and unlike charges, and because of that there was a non-contact force that was present there, balanced and unbalanced force. Try this. Take a cardboard box, tie thick string to its two sides and keep it on a smooth table as shown in the figure. So here they have taken a cardboard box and kept it on a table. On either side, that is on opposite sides of this box, they have tied a thick string as shown here. Take the strings on both sides of the table. Tie weighing pans to the two ends. So here they have put a weighing pan on either side. Wherever the string was falling, they have put a weighing pan on that side. Keep equal masses in both the pans. So in this we have to keep certain objects that have equal masses and weight, so that when you keep both the masses, then the box will not move. The box does not move on the table. So when you kept the equal masses, the box did not move. If more mass is kept in one of the pans than in the other, the box starts moving in the direction of that pan. So, suppose we increase the mass in this pan and we kept more mass as compared to the other pan. In the other pan, we do not increase the mass, but in this pan, we will keep another object or we'll make it more heavier. So, when we do this, we will observe that this box will slide towards the direction of that pan because the heavy weight pulled the box in this direction. Equal gravitational force acts on both the pans when equal masses are kept in them. So earlier, when both the masses were equal, both the forces were equal in direction and therefore they cancelled each other. This means balanced forces act on the box with effective force equal to 0 as these are acting in the opposite directions. So when the masses were equal, they were acting on opposite directions, and because they were equal, they were cancelling each other out. So that the net force, that is the total force acting on the box, was 0. On the contrary, if more mass is kept in one pan than in the other, the box starts moving in the direction of the pan with more mass. So when we added more mass in this pan, we observed that there was more force coming towards this side, and therefore now both the forces were not equal. Even though they were in the opposite direction, since this mass is more and this force is more, therefore the box will move towards the more mass. When unequal forces are applied to the box on the two sides, an unbalanced force acts on the box, resulting in imparting motion to the box. That is what we have seen here, that when more mass was applied, more force acted on the box, and therefore the box moved in the direction where the mass was more. Children playing tug of war pull the rope in their respective directions. If you must have heard of this game, in this game there is a child on one end and a child on another end, and between them there is a rope with a ribbon tied in the middle. So whoever achieves to pull the ribbon in their direction will win the game. If the pull of the force is equal on the two sides, the rope does not move. So if both the green child and the blue child are pulling the rope with equal amount of strength and equal amount of force, then the ribbon will not move on either side. If the force is more on one side, the rope moves in that direction. So here, if any one of the child achieves to put more amount of force, then the ribbon will move in their direction. For example, if this green child puts more force in pulling the rope as compared to the blue child, then he will pull the rope more and the ribbon will move towards his direction. This means that initially the two forces are balanced. The rope moves in the direction of higher force when the force becomes unbalanced. So initially when the green child and the blue child were applying equal amount of force. So first the forces were equal and in the opposite direction. Therefore they both will be cancelled out. But as soon as the green child put more amount of force, then now this force towards that green child is more, and therefore the ribbon will move in that direction, and now it will become unbalanced force. Let us see one more example. When a big grain storage container is required to slide on the ground, it becomes easier if two persons push it rather than one person. So imagine this red box as a very heavy container. So if only one person, that only this blue person pushes it, then it will move ahead just a little bit. But if the blue person and the green person together put a lot of force and push it, then both their forces will be added and the container will move even more ahead. When the force is applied by both in the same direction, the movement is easy. So because both of them are applying the force in the same direction, not like in the previous tug of war example when both of the people were applying the force in opposite direction. Here both the persons are applying the force in the same direction. Therefore now their forces will be added and the net force will be even further and bigger in the forward direction. Now let us make a summary of whatever we have learned from the previous examples. If several forces are applied on an object in the same direction, a force equal to their addition acts on that object. So this we have applied from the previous example in which the two persons were pushing a heavy container. So in that, because both the people were pushing the object in the same direction, therefore the net force, that is the total force that was acting on the object, was the addition of the individual forces. So the amount of force applied by one person plus the amount of force applied by the other person would be equal to the net force acting on that object. If two forces are applied on one object in directions opposite to each other, a force equal to their difference acts on that object. So this was the example of the tug of war game played between the two children. So, since both the children were applying forces in the direction opposite to each other, therefore we have to subtract the lesser amount of force from the greater force. Therefore, whatever difference we get after subtracting would be the net force that is acting on the object. A force is expressed in magnitude and direction. Therefore, the force is a vector quantity. We know of two types of quantities, that is scalars and vectors. Scalars depend only on the magnitude, whereas vectors depend on the magnitude as well as the direction. So because force is dependent on both magnitude, that is the amount of force, and also the direction in which the force is acting, therefore force is a vector quantity. If more than one force are acting on a body, then the effect on the body is due to the net force. Net force is the total force. So if more than one force is acting, then you have to either add both the forces or subtract depending on the direction of the force. When a force is applied on a stationary object, that is an object at rest, it moves. Its speed and direction changes. So if a box is just kept at rest on a table and you put a force on it, then you will change its direction and its speed. So that is the effect of a force acting on an object. Similarly, a force is required to stop an object in motion. So if a ball is in motion continuously, then you will require an external force such as frictional force or even an external force that you apply on the ball, and that will only cause it to stop. If there is no force acting on the ball, then the ball will continue to be in motion how it originally was. An object can change its shape due to force. While kneading a dough made from flour, the dough changes its shape when a force is applied. So, when you must have noticed your mom making chapatis, you will notice that when she is kneading the dough, that is when she is making the dough for the chapatis, the more amount of pressure that she applies, depending on the direction, the shape of the dough keeps on changing. A potter applies a force in a specific direction while shaping the pot. Also, if you must have noticed, when potters make pots on their surface and while making the pot, they apply forces in different direction with both their hands in order to make the shape of the pot. Therefore, we know that when you apply force, it also has the property to change the shape of the object on which the force is applied. Rubber, when stretched, expands. There are such many examples like these. Also, when you must have stretched a rubber band, you will observe that it gets expanded and it stretches. Now we will study about inertia. We have seen that an object changes its state of motion due to force. But in the absence of a force, an object exhibits a tendency to remain in the existing state of motion. So what does this mean? So this was, if you remember the initial example, when you are driving a car and you switch off the engine, you will notice that the car continues to move for a certain amount of distance before it comes to a rest. So why is it continuously moving even after the engine is stopped? This is because of inertia. Because of this tendency of an object to be in inertia, therefore it will continue to be in motion after even the force has stopped. Therefore, this is what is termed as inertia. Let us see the following examples to learn more about inertia. Activity 1. Take a postcard and keep it on a glass. Keep a 5 rupee coin on it. Now skillfully push the glass. So we take a glass and we keep a postcard like a cardboard on top of this glass. On top of the postcard, we will place a 5 rupee coin. Now we have to push this card very forcefully. After we do this, we will observe that the coin will remain in that same position. Even though when we push this card away, it will not move with the card, but it will be in this same position, and after a while it will fall into the glass. So why didn't the coin move along with the postcard? It was because the coin was following something called as inertia, and because of that the coin remained in its same position that it was before the postcard was moved. So because before the postcard was moved the coin was at rest, therefore even after pushing the postcard the coin continued to remain at rest, and because of that it was pulled down by gravity and it hit the glass. Activity 2. Hang a half kg mass from a stand with a string 1. Tie another string 2 to the mass and keep it hanging. Now pull the string 2 with a jerk. So we have a half kg mass which is hanging from a surface by a string 1. Let's take this blue string as string 1. Also, there's another string which is attached to this mass, and that is string 2. Let's take the green string as string 2. When you pull on the string 2 very suddenly in this direction, you will notice that because of the force and the suddenness, this string will break, that is the green string will break. But if you pull it very slowly towards this direction, you will notice the mass also moves in this direction and the blue string will break. Heavy masses does not move. Now pull the string 2 slowly. The string 1 breaks and the mass falls down. So when this string breaks, because there is no surface attachment, this mass will now fall down because of the force of gravity. This is because of the tension developed in the string 2 due to the mass. Let's see what is pressure now. You must have observed the tires of two-wheelers and four-wheelers getting pressurized. So, when you must have noticed on a bike or a car, you must have seen the tire wheels getting pressurized. That is, the air filling machine has a pressure indicating dial or a digital meter showing the digital reading of a pressure. So, when you fill air inside the tire, the pressure inside the tire keeps on increasing. And you must have noticed when you take your car or bike to fill air in the tire, there is a pressure indicating dial. There is a meter there present on the machine which fills the air that shows you the pressure which is present inside the tire. So you have to only fill the tire up to a certain level of pressure, because if you exceed that pressure, the tire may burst because of the additional pressure. The machine fills the pressure to a certain value only. You are aware that a force has to be applied for filling air in the bicycle tire with a hand pump. So when you fill your bicycle tire with a hand pump, you have to put a pressure on the pump so that the air is forced into the tire. By applying the force, air pressure is increased and then the air is pushed into the tire. So for the air to be pushed into the tire, you have to apply the force that you put in the hand pump.